meter for the Thames-Coromandel District, and even though I'm starting slightly earlier, are there any apologies? And it looks like a full house, so there being none, I'll go straight into the public forum, and who's the list bell? Bill Cookly and Amy Marville, welcome from Sport Waikato. It's great that you've got such a fantastic audience to be there today.
They must have heard. Okay, tēnā koutou, Mayor Sandro, elected members, CEO Rob Williams, council staff, thank you for the opportunity this morning to present some insights and information during this public forum about the current trends, barriers to participation and implications for providers as we endeavour to entice back or instill in desire for our tamariki and rangatahi to undertake play, active recreation or sport. And this could be particularly useful as you deliberate your support for the Tairua Skate Park project. So what are the trends? A couple of recent publications produced by Sport Waikato entitled Waikato Regional Tamariki and Rangatahi Profiles look at the participation levels and preferences of tamariki and rangatahi through play, active recreation and sport in the Waikato with some interesting insights. Play as an engaging an activity for enjoyment or amusement with no other objective is under threat as levels decline in New Zealand. And the decline in time spent, level of intensity and frequency of being active occurs around the age of 15. And for most, this intensity will never recover across their lifetime. 12 to 17-year-olds are the most at-risk group of any age group when it comes to embedding and maintaining physical activity in their lives. What are some of the barriers to participation? Young people experience both practical and personal barriers to participation, with nearly half citing too busy as the main barrier. And additionally, the move to secondary school is often associated with having an increased emphasis on competition, leading to a decline in fun and unstructured experiences. This can lead secondary age kids to drop out of sport at this age. All is not lost though. 55% of primary age kids and 72% of secondary age kids want to do more. So how do we make this happen? Partnerships need to be fostered between schools, clubs, partner organisations, including sport, health, local authority and community to maximise opportunities and pathways for participation outside of school. And communities make or break the experience. Children need time, space and permission to play. We need to encourage unstructured and loosely structured play. We need to enable our young people to have experiences beyond organised competition. We need to let our young people play on their own terms in their own time. Something like a skate park, easily accessible with no cost to participate, sounds like an ideal tonic to overcoming some of these participation barriers. As you can see in the slide there, in the Active New Zealand 2018 participation report, scootering was ranked in 8th position for tamariki, with a third of all respondents indicating they had undertaken this activity in the last 7 days.
So we just wanted to show you a short video of the Melville Skate Park in Hamilton. This is a space that Hamilton City Council have recently invested in. It's a hive of activity. It features skaters, scooters, rollerbladers of a range of backgrounds and ages. And it's a really interesting space in our city because it's actually policed by the users, and it's a space that these participants have really made their own. There you see a range of users. You also see that the council are working with the users to actually incorporate some graffiti art and so that they can decorate it and make the space more their own as well. So that's the very beginnings of that. So skateboarding, I think, has probably had a range of connotations associated with it in the past, but you'll note that it's making its debut at the Summer Olympic Games in Tokyo. So it's become a more, I guess, mainstream activity. As a result, we're likely to see more growth in skateboarding as there's a pathway created for young people, and we're starting to see it come through in the Active NZ survey as we're able to drill down into more active recreation data. There are a few important points about skate parks and skateboarding. They're a win-win. They provide a safe space for skateboarders and help protect property of local government and businesses. Often they're used, particularly in surf towns, for surfers to engage in dangerous weather or when the surf is flat, so there's dual use there. Skate parks promote an active lifestyle no matter the age. We see at the Melbourne Skate Park in Hamilton, we see parents skateboarding with their children, and we see grandparents down watching their children skate as well. Well-designed skate parks can provide economic benefit, where you put them as important because it can stimulate the local economy. And there's a really interesting quote there that we've included. If your town doesn't have a skate park, it is one. Skateboarders will find places to skate, and often where you don't want them to, creating damage and more cost for repair of concrete surfaces and things that weren't intended to skate on.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Any questions? They all implicitly understand everything. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'll now invite Jackie Gage Brown to come forward.
Kia ora, kia tāroa aho e noho ana ko Israel. Felix Leo Oku Tamariki, ko Jackie Tuku Ingoa, no reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Me Sandra, councillors, thank you for your time this morning. I've seen the length of the agenda, so I'll keep it quick for you. As you'll be aware, the Tairua community has been seeking a skate park for 30 years, and we believe it's time for this community to be heard. 18th of May, our community board resolution was passed to proceed with the skate park facility at the Corey Park domain. This was based on feasibility studies completed, showing that this was the only location in Tairua to promote or to have this hub. It also means that it becomes a sporting hub of Tairua with all of our active recreation held and hosted in one space. So our netball, tennis, cricket, rugby, all those Olympic sports along with skateboarding all there together. On the 2nd of November, our community board saw unanimous support of the design and the plans for this facility, and resolution was passed, which is what we're going to work through today. Applying the same rules that we've seen other skate parks across the peninsula, the resolution was for the community to raise 1/3 of this cost, which is what's happened in the other towns. So that would mean for our community to raise 150,000. So today, as chairperson of the newly incorporated Tairua Sport and Recreation Trust, as of 8:30 PM last night, we've raised $110,500. This was kicked off with Rebecca and Lawrence Railton, so they're Tairua holiday home owners. They also own AS Colour, which is the t-shirt brand you may be familiar with. They kicked us off with a $50,000 donation and did say that if we're stuck at the end, come back and they'll give us more. We then launched a 1K club. In our budget, we set a goal of having 40 1K members. We thought we'd go out with that first and ask people to rally together. We've seen friends join together, families come together, cousins, to reach that 1K club. We even have 10 solo mums in Tairua who put $100 each together and hit the 1K club. Sorry, it makes me a bit emotional because the community is so supportive of wanting this to happen. Okay. So as of last night, we have 52 members in our 1K club. So we've established a trust, we've been granted charitable status, we are waiting for the bank account from BNZ, which seems to be everybody's waiting for something from BNZ at the moment. We're on the list. 2 more weeks. We might go open a bank after this. Bank of Tairua. And that will allow us to provide tax deductible receipts for all of our donors. We're constantly being messaged, or daily I'm getting messages at the moment saying, when's the bank account coming? I'm like, hold fire, we have council meeting on the 8th of December, we'll then open it up. And then I keep messaging BNZ. Come on, we need the bank account. So community are asking for our donation or for our bank account. There's gifting of donations of various sizes. But as I said, we wanted to go up first with the 1K and just hit people with that larger amount. There is a number of initiatives that the community wants to provide. The kids at the moment are raffling off some skateboards that have been provided to them. And we have a number of other ideas, but again, we just said to them, hold tight, we need to get past the 8th of December and then we can get let loose. We have a robust funding plan and I've spoken to all of the gaming trusts. So Trust Waikato, NZCT, Grassroots, Trillion Trust, Lime Foundation, they're all expecting applications from us post today's decision. And given we only need to raise another 39,500 and haven't even opened a bank account, I feel that potentially the council could be making some of those applications because we're going to cream our 150 and be ready to roll. Our trust has door knocked all the surrounding residents a couple of weekends ago, and a number of them are not home because they're holiday places. Those who were home, we got to have really good conversations with them and just really get to understand what their concerns were and then be able to start chatting through those and be able to address them with them. We had a graphic designer, thanks Nat, work on a positive sign that highlights things that the residents did raise and discuss with us. Our sign's going to have things such as we use the toilet at the other end of the rugby field. We put our litter in the bin. There is no bins from council at the moment in our space, but we will get bins. We go home when it's dark and we are kind and courteous. So we're just wanting to make sure that this skate park is framed in a very positive light, that we address those concerns and yeah, keep it a really positive sporting hub down there. On the weekend I was down at the cricket nets with my sons, Saturday afternoon, 3 hours, Sunday afternoon again. Currently there are no council rubbish bins down there. We took our rubbish home with us. Our friends texted and said, hey, we saw you down playing cricket, highlighting that there's very passive surveillance at Corey Park Lane. You can't pick your nose without being seen. Someone will know. And there's also been new cameras erected on the rugby field lights, and so if we needed to, we could direct these further down to the skate park area. Thames Rugby Union have recommended decreasing the dead ball zone to 6 metres with a 5 metre perimeter, which means the current skate park design works and means all of the sports can continue in that hub within their own spaces, meeting their own requirements. Council had budget allocated for this project, which we understand was reduced with the COVID budget adjustments, and we get that. At the same time that the project budget was reduced, though, the project was already well underway. There's a lot of work that has to happen before we get a spade and actually can dig out the dirt, as you can appreciate. There is funding available in the Pawanui skate park revamp because that's not going to go ahead. And we've also become aware that there's now the tidal subdivision fund, which can also do this. So there is no direct impact on ratepayers if we're utilising those, and it's funds from our community for our community. We're very aware that there are holiday makers with deep pockets who purchase houses near a sport facility, who will spare no expense in preventing our tamariki and rangatahi and our community from getting what they're seeking. This same individual has tried and failed to prevent the Queenstown skate park and didn't succeed there, and we hope that that person does not prevent us from getting the same thing today. Last week we got a certificate of compliance from Independent Commissioner that deemed the proposed application as a permitted activity that may be lawfully carried out without a resource consent. Really does back up the feasibility study and all the thorough research that has been completed by Ross and the team at the council. They've done an exceptional job in getting this project to where they have. So we've also got Rugby Sevens player Tim Mickelson backing us. He is a title holiday person and feels that sports like rugby and skateboarding should be seen in the same area, that each of these sports has a similar standing. Both of them are at the Olympics now, so it's to recognise that sport. So just to finish it off, is 2020 going to be the year that Tairua gets this long anticipated skate park? We thank you, Mayor and councillors, that you've listened to the title whānau. We were asked to raise a third of the costs. We've practically done it. We're ready. Are you guys?
Kia ora, and simple answer that would be no, because we're only a couple of ways from the year end.
We can come into it this
Look, I didn't realise that you were having trouble with the setting up a bank account, because you do need to get people while they're hot. So when they want to put into a bank account, they want to put into a bank account. Would it be useful to you for council to set up an account, a trust account, to in which people can put directly contribute?
I spoke to the Charities Register and they've said it's best to go directly into our charitable trust from the start, and that's the clearest way for invoicing for tax things. I've got a very good relationship with the bank manager of BNZ, and one of our regional BNZ reps has also been chasing it. It's just the system is slow. We have everybody's name, phone number pledge, which has been publicly announced on the Facebook page with their quote and photo of their family who have committed to it. So they have very publicly committed to the funds. So we're not concerned that they're now going to back out because they'll be named and shamed in a public forum. We know where they live. We want to one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but we're fair to see the money, how they.
Yeah.
Okay. So any other questions, Jackie?
Yeah. When you went around and you canvassed all of the surrounding neighbours, you said that you had a list of concerns that you were then addressing. Did any of them mention that they were worried that the noise level was going to be much higher?
No, there was. Was there
The noise?
Yes.
You would say, oh God, they're going to be out in 3 minutes and they
So what was the question?
Was there any noise
Did
concerns?
any of the surrounding residents that were canvassed when they went out last weekend raise concerns that it was going to be very noisy
I mean,
having a skate park there?
if you go to the sports ground on a Saturday when there's a rugby game,
Yeah.
it's very noisy. If you look at the sports and the noise, we've got noise studies completed. Skateboarding is a very quiet. It doesn't exceed any of the noise levels or anything. And as I say, compared to cricket down there, boot camp at 6 a.m. or anything else that you expect in a sporting hub, skateboarding is not going to make any more noise than that. Yeah.
Any other further questions of Jackie? There being none, thank you very much, Jackie.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, because of the size of the chamber, we now need to do a switch around to the next speaker and their support group. So, so you guys are going to have to go that way. Sorry, Dave. Well done, thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome, Ryan. We're just waiting a second for the all to, I'll finally got your name. Only talk. Welcome from the town. Thank you very much for being so patient and doing the changeover. So we really appreciate it. Welcome, Ryan, and the floor is yours.
Anō reire, ko te kupi tuatahi ki te atua. Ko ia te tīmatanga me te whakamutunga o ngā mea katoa, he honore i kororia ki tōna ingoa tapu, he maungaro ki te whenua, karo pai ki a tātou katoa. Ai te whare e tū nei, tū tonu mai. Ki ngā tāngata whenua, ki ngā kaitiaki o te rohu nei, tēnā koutou katoa. A ngā mihi mahana, ki a koutou ko tai mai mo te hui o tēnei rā, ki te mea, ki ngā kai kauri hira, ki ngā kaimahi tautoko, me ngā tangata o te hāpori. Tēnā koutou, huru no te motu, tēnā tātou katoa.
Yeah.
Well, greetings everybody, good morning. My name is Ryan Thompson and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Whangamata Community Marae Committee and the Whangamata Community Hub proposal. Just like to acknowledge the group that I have here with me in support. So we have members of all the organisations involved in the hub proposal. So with us, we have the Whangamata Community Marae Trust, Whangamata Community Services Trust, Whangamata Community Men's Shed, Arts Collective Whangamata, Whangamata Theatre Society, Whangamata Lions, and finally Community Patrol Whangamata. I'd just like to give a brief apology if I'm a little bit blurry-eyed. My wife and I have a 4-day-old baby girl. So I thought I'd apologise if I'm yawning later. It's not a reflection on your meeting or anything like that. But,
there's no remedy for sleep.
Obviously not, but I'll do my best. So obviously here to speak on the proposal to lease 101 Lindsay Road for a community marae and hub facility. I don't want to go into great detail and sort of bore you too much, but I just wanted to outline 3 key points about why this is a really worthwhile and solid proposal. So first of all is the need. There's a huge need for this facility in the Whangamata community. On the marae side of it, there's nothing in Whangamata, no cultural facility to meet the needs of the community, things like tangihanga, kapahaka, te reo Māori, tikanga Māori. There's just a huge gap in our community. And it's not just the events, it's also the sense of well-being and belonging. There's nowhere for our people to belong. And in particular, our young people coming through our schools. And we have Opotiri School, which has 40% Māori students, and Whangamata Area School, which has 30% Māori students. And there is no place in our community for them to connect and belong. As well as that, we have all these groups here who do fantastic work in our community, and well-established community groups who either have no facilities or are working in inadequate facilities that don't meet their needs. So huge need for this in the Whangamata community. And that's why we have such a strong group in putting forward this proposal today. Secondly, we have really strong community backing from all the groups involved here today, but even the wider community. All of the schools and early childhood centres, local iwi, and a whole host of community groups have pledged their support for this proposal. And to give you a sort of a bit of a snapshot of that, we have support from the early childhood centres all the way through to the RSA, the whole breadth of the community. So this is needed and wanted by the Whangamata community. And thirdly, this proposal has really solid financials. So we have proven funding streams to build and establish the facilities, a really robust long-term plan, healthy projections for the marae to be sustainable, and to be there long-term for the community. Yeah, so in conclusion, this is a win-win for council to supply some land and for a really strong community group to build something for the community. It would be such a shame to see that piece of land lost, and land in Whangamata is becoming rarer and rarer, and it's something that we really need for our community, and it is one of really the last option. So to invest in this now would be an investment in Whangamata for generations to come, to keep that land in our community and have it as a resource and a place for our community. So thank you for your time. Look forward to hearing the outcome from today, and hope that we can have a good outcome, and welcome any questions from you. Go.
Yeah. Any questions for Ryan? There being none? Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate your presentation. Thank you for everybody for coming forward. Thanks, Stuart.
Are you driving home? I'm worried about you like a
Have a coffee if I need to.
Get driven.
Okay, so is anybody else in public forum? There are no other speakers in the public forum, so I'll carry on. I'll move that Murray, seconder, Terry, for seconding the public forum. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Any items not on the agenda? Any conflicts of interest? And we now move into the minutes for confirmation. So we have the first lot of minutes. Confirmation. Yep, page 4. So do I have a mover and a second for the Coromandel Community Board? John, seconder. I'm a seconder for John's minutes. So, any discussion? There being, it's a bit. You got something here? I don't think anyone's got an issue with that, well, how can you approve something like that? Okay, it's a local. Okay. There being no further discussion, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried. Victory Bay Community Board minutes.
I'll move.
Moved Tony, seconded Murray. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Now we have the Taiwan Parliamentary Community Board minutes.
So moved.
Do I second it? Gary, so discussion, and so
clause 4, you will need to consider.
So on 4 we'll need to have a paper back from council in regard to this to approve bringing forward LTP, rescheduling LTP program. So we need it paper being brought back to council. So the proves that the consider, so item 4.
Item 4, is that property?
That needs to be, that's the skate park one. It needs to be referred back to staff for a paper to be brought to council for us to be able to make a decision on that, because it's an LTP item being brought forward. Fiscal implications. So it receives the information and refers to that to staff for a report to come back to council. Okay, so that will be the recommendation.
So we're not adopting these minutes, we are adopting these minutes?
We are receive the minutes.
Yeah, and adopt all of the clauses, but that one we have to just receive that because we need to formalise the rescheduling of the LTP. So there's no doubt that the budget exists. It's just a question of going through the right process to make sure that we either choose as a council to reschedule that budget or that we decline that.
So they couldn't come back on the 15th?
I believe that would be too soon because papers have already closed for the 15th because that was a special council meeting just for the LTP stuff that we were doing.
So I just need to follow this. So you're saying that the motion that was put forward by the community board for adoption, that the park approves it. The collective adoption of that.
Now we need a paper from staff around the fiscal implications of that. And we don't have the actual fund in hand from the community to start.
They won't start until we get that approved, this is what we're looking for today, so they can get a bank account. So they've got security that this thing's going ahead. This is a little bit out of left field for me.
It's the way, it's the wording.
I was just wondering if we, your worship, please.
Yeah, no, sorry, no need to be.
I'm just wondering if, just to, in the spirit of things, if we could approve in principle upon receipt of the paper from staff, so that gives the assurance to the entire community that we are behind them. We just wait that paper from staff, so approved in principle.
From my perspective,
Yeah.
The budgets are there.
Yeah, the budgets are
It's a
there.
timing issue, and it's a process issue to make sure that we brought a paper to council for the council to make that decision.
So we need to understand what it is that they require from us for the bank approval. So that's not.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop us approving this for them to go forward.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't stop.
We can't do a bank account until we have council sign.
Excuse me, this is a discussion in council.
So this is just bits on the side. We want to do is see this thing approved by the council that they can go forward, open a bank account, put the money in to show you the money's there, and progress this project. And the fact of what CE's saying, it's just a matter of moving some money around within the budget. We should be able to sign this off today.
I just want to reconfirm, council has already approved funding for the skate park.
Right.
So council could make a statement to say, council has already approved funding for the skate park. What we can then do at the first council meeting in the new year is to reschedule the way we funded the skate park to meet the
Just
timeline.
internal
group.
Yes.
So
LTP.
it's semantics, but it's actually quite important to get the process right.
Yeah, well, that's an internal thing.
That's right.
Yeah, so let's have that
And
discussion.
I think it would be, if we go that way, it would be important to name where the place is that we're planning to have the skate park.
Yeah, Corey Park.
Yes.
I think for the purposes of this, there's two parts to this, okay? We have already approved. This is asking us to bring the money forward as a part of the LTP. The bank probably needs to know that we have already approved the construction of the skate park. So that's where we would need to have a further discussion with the presenters in the public forum to understand what the bank actually requires from council in order to get their bank account application over the line. Second part to this is to bring the funding forward, we need paper from staff around that fiscal impact. We can't just do it off the cuff because the legislation actually requires that we have robust decision making, and the fiscal part of that's really important.
Yes.
Here it's just a little loose, so we're not trying to obstruct anything here. We need to understand more about what is required for them to get their paperwork over the line, and so we can have a discussion offline. Yes.
All right, then if that's what we need to hear, I suggest we put the leaders' mat on the table and we'll have some discussion with this group as to what they actually require so that we can meet their needs today.
Agreed. So I think it would be good, and I probably don't have it with radio. So
So it strikes me that there's two things we're talking about.
yeah,
Generally,
Yeah.
they want, the people of Taira and Paranui need to know that we support.
it's already been approved.
Yeah, but with all the activity going on around it, you know, I'm approved at Top of the Hill or approved at Corey Rock Park, you know, like I think.
If we don't get process right, we will risk the project not proceeding.
Yeah, absolutely, so.
So there are two aspects. We have a planning issue that still remains unresolved in the eyes of the process. So we have to resolve that planning issue. That will be brought to a council meeting, I'm assuming the first meeting of 2021. And that is at exactly the same time that we can reschedule the budget because the planning issue will be dealt with.
So just explain that to me, Ron. The planning issue is something that's, what, going to stand in the way of us moving forward or not?
No, well, it shouldn't do. However, as you go through an RMA process, there are different points where people can lodge appeals.
We've got a certificate of compliance, I'm sure, yeah?
So
I'm aware of that, but again, council hasn't formally resolved around progressing the project with that certificate of compliance.
Well, that's what we want to do.
Yeah, that's right. But
well, you're
again,
not doing
we
that
need a
here today.
paper to be presented to council. We can't do it on the fly because we have to get process right. It can't be done through a minute from the community board. So all I can suggest is that it would be the first report of the council meeting next year, which is late January next year.
So can I suggest that for item 4, we receive the information, that we reaffirm that we have approved the funding of a skate park at Tairua.
At Corey Park.
Corey Park.
At Corey
Have
Park.
you not listened to a thing that Rob just said?
Yes, we have.
We can confirm that we have approved funding for a skate park in Tairua, and that we will refer to staff for a paper to come back in regard to bringing the LTP funding forward. We have to have that.
I think Constable would name Corey Park, that's fine.
Corey Park.
I think it's important to name.
It's named in the LTP, so there's no surprise there.
Okay, that's fine then. So are you happy with that wording for the recommendation for item 4?
Is that get what they want? This is what we're trying to get.
Yes, thank you.
I agree with Rob, we have to follow the process, because I feel something around the.
We have a very serious resource group in parallel, and we have to make sure that we do things properly. We can't.
We're not asking them not to do things properly here. We're asking them to say that the group's come to town, we've had the discussion, we've got the people on board, we want to give them that surety, they can go away today and start this bank account and get the money in and come back to us. So if that's the motion we want to put forward, let's hear it.
So
Before we do.
then as Rob's already said, the project for a skate park in Corey Park domain has already been approved by council in the LTP. What part of that doesn't anybody get?
I get it. I just want to know that we satisfy the needs of the across here at the moment, that will allow them to
Well,
get.
they can come back and have a chat to us outside of this meeting if the bank requirements are anything different to what we're able to do.
So this may be being a bit stupid, but when you say it's been approved in the LTP, but that LTP isn't done until next.
Current LTP.
Current,
Yes.
right, that was being stupid.
No, it wasn't.
No, good question.
So, because sometimes people just, they don't, there's so much information out there around the Tairua skate park that can actually be quite overwhelming. So this should get us over the line, and we can then address what it is the bank might require from the community to be able to set this thing up. So we'll talk to them outside of this meeting. Robin?
Well, we're at the very beginning of the meeting, and it seems that we have all of the relevant people here. So rather, can we not put this item till the end of the minutes? Get our people talking to their people now, so that we know that the thing that we pass now actually does get them over the line for the bank account.
It won't make any difference to the necessity for a staff paper on the LTP funding being brought forward.
Right, so nothing that's in this particular item is going to stop them getting the bank account, because we've said that we need them to have a bank account.
It won't stop our requirement from having to get a staff paper to make a
I
decision.
don't think anybody's arguing about that, Sandra. I think we've all agreed and we've heard that we need to have a paper on this, and that's fine.
That's solely what this recommendation is, if you read it.
Happens.
Right, let's have a resolution.
Yeah.
And we'll see if it makes sense and someone can move it
So
and
I've put
second it.
up, the recommendation is to receive the information and for staff to bring a paper back to council in regard to the LTP funding being brought forward.
And I think that resolution needs to say that we have approved the Corey Park location for the skate park for the Tairua community, so they can go forward and prepare a bank account.
In the last
And
one.
so part of that
No,
will
I'm
be-
not going to say all that, because that's outside of,
Well, it's not. It's
that
not what
activity
we-
is up to them. So all we need to do is say that council has already approved a skate park in the Corey Park domain in the current LTP.
Yes, that's right, so that, yeah, but you haven't put it in, you do a lot of
Yeah.
that, but it's about how we actually get it.
I'm actually just saying what I said before.
I'm pretty happy with that, Sandra, but I am going to move, before we actually move that resolution, that we put this on the table for a consultation between this group and our staff that satisfies the requirements, and I'll back that resolution if that's the case. So I'll move that we put this aside for the moment. No?
Technically speaking, if there's no agreement around the table, that just needs to be sent to the community, that's sent back to the community board to reconsider. That's the difficulty, is we've got a community.
No, they're not into that space, Rob.
Look, again, I'm just trying to keep.
We're trying to get this over the line.
I know, but the problem is if community boards just go off on a crusade to do what they want to do without having the due process around the council table, that's where the wheels can wobble too much.
Well, they're not doing that. They've come to council with a supporting, totally supporting project. They want this council to adopt. The funding is there. They want help now to get bank accounts so they can get the money in to show they're doing it. That's all they want. That's it. The process that we do behind the scenes, we've got to do that. That's part of what we've got to do. It's not part of what
Okay,
we're
I'll
trying
ask
to
you
do.
a question, Terry. How does our decision around bringing forward the funding affect what they're doing?
Well, what they're asking for is this approval today to show that that bank account can be constructed and the money can go into it, and you can see that they've got this $104,000, whatever they've got there. And that's all you're after, to show that.
Well, the council's already approved a skate park and crew park domain
Aren't they a registered charitable
in the
trust?
LTV.
And if you are, you can open a bank account. It's just to muck up with the BNZ getting off their butts to do it. So I've been involved in charitable trusts. You can open a bank account. In fact, the bank can't tell you what to do.
Good on you, Gary.
That's my question. That's my question. I don't see what this has got to do with opening a bank account.
No,
Well, that's what I want clarification on.
Well, it was on a course, and now suddenly it's being hijacked because we're having to process about the long-term plan. That surely is process.
Yeah, but you were arguing about opening a bank account.
No, I'm making sure that the people who come here today have got the mandate to go forward, and as they know that this project is going to happen, the money's in the long-term plan, and they can show that the support that they've got in the community is true and correct in their trust.
No, this is all about bringing money forward.
Yeah.
But this recommendation is about bringing money forward.
Yeah.
Well, so we're telling you that.
But you're holding things up to do that. You're saying we're interfering this.
No.
Well, if you can open the bank account, this is going to come back in January. How's it held up? That's what I can't understand.
No, we're not going outside of this meeting. All right, so I'll put this on the table, that I move that we receive the information and that we refer the matter to staff for a paper to be brought back to council in regard to bringing the LTP funding forward. Do I have a seconder?
Just spoken with staff, and although they're under the pump in terms of the work that they are doing, I've asked them to bring a paper back to the special council meeting next week.
Next week.
So what we will do is deal with the planning issue and therefore the funding issue next week. Yeah.
So I'm just feeling comfortable that
if the table is open to us doing that, it's going to put a significant skew on somebody's workload, but we will do that.
Tony.
So what Rob's saying, I agree with. You can open the bank account up tomorrow morning, and we're aware there is a seriously resourced group of people who may challenge this. It is in the best interest of all of us. We all support what this community is trying to do. For me, we should be taking the staff advice to make sure that every I is dotted, every T is crossed, so that if we get challenged, that we are in the strongest possible space. So for the time of a week or 2 weeks or a month to shift the funding, which is the issue, is bringing the funding forward, and that can only be done at a district level, then I would just get on and get the bank account opened up and let this process take its place and have our chief executive and his staff protect the interests of the group that are wanting this and that we all support. Don't try and do something cute around the side of it that opens you up potentially at a later date to scuttle the good work that everyone has done, particularly in that community. So,
well, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to get confidence around the fact that this group of councillors here and the mayor and the staff support this project. And my understanding that they've signed it off, it's a project to happen. I didn't want to see this funding issue come in to start to curtail and start to change people's opinions. So if that 1 week's going to make the difference, I'm happy to make 1 week. If we can do
Well,
it.
if it takes 1 month, it takes, you know, it's.
Well, it's a funding thing.
We have to, it's
No, the bank account will be open, project's underway, we're going to go through our process to shift the funding forward.
Yeah.
So it can be delivered ahead, as soon as possible. That's a process. If we don't get that right.
Well, that's what we're asking for. We're getting a week to do it.
Yeah, that's exactly what people are trying to tell us to get this over the line now.
I do hear what you're saying, and you don't want to any inroads for anybody to take advantage of it, maybe. Absolutely. So I can go with Sandra. Just could we have Corey Park mentioned in that resolution?
Approval, so we can say that council has given approval for a skate park in Corey Park domain subject to planning in the current LTP.
Yeah.
Statement.
Statement.
It's a statement.
Well, see, through the chair, I think I've got to explain something in the room here, is that we know a piece of information that council officially doesn't know yet, because council agendas are prepared 3 or 4 weeks in advance of meetings so that we can do a proper job as staff. So agendas have already closed for next week's meeting as well. So to get a paper on there, we have to get some work done, because we all know that in principle this thing can go at this location, but we've got to do a proper job of getting the right papers presented. So staff are going to work hard to get the paper for next week. Yeah, it's frustrating that council can take a long time, but you see the size of the agendas that people have to produce for council meetings. We can't always produce these papers and get them right in the timeframes that people desire. And it's a question of making sure that we provide the right papers in a timely fashion to be able to make those process decisions correctly.
Well, can you read that out again, Sandra, what you said? I thought it was quite.
Well, actually, I would like a simple resolution of receives the information and refers to staff for a paper to come back to council. And that's going to bring that resolution back to council next week.
I would like the piece put in there that the council has approved the Corey Park location, allows the community trust holders to continue with their fundraising and that piece in it.
No, I'm not going to say all of that. I'll be prepared to say that Corey Park domain has already been approved in the current LTP for a skate park.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's it. Do I have a seconder? Because I've moved that. Well done, Mary, thank you. So any further discussion?
So the subject to planning, the plan.
I've taken that bit out.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to labour the point, but I've just been, again, rechecking with staff. Corey Park domain is not actually referred to in the long-term plan specifically. It's a skate park in Tyrone.
Yeah.
So if prior to receiving your planning advice, council takes a predetermined stance on where it's going to go, it throws grayness over your planning decision.
Yeah.
So the mover of the resolution goes back to the original resolution, which is we received the information and refer to staff for a paper to come back to council. Do I have a seconder? Gary, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. That's what you get when we. So can I receive the information and that a paper staff, the matter be referred to staff for a paper to come back to council. Do we have a mover and seconder for all of the other recommendations for the Whakamatā Community Board? Terry and Gary, thank you. Tyra Whānau. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. So, Thames Community Board. I'll second that. Move Robin, seconded Sally. Any discussion? There being none? All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes, carried. So, Whangatar Community Board minutes.
So moved.
Terry seconded Gary. However, on item 2. So, no, not item 2, because that's all locally funded, so that's okay. Item 4. We cannot approve in principle. And we're going to, this is another situation where we require a report back from council. Would you like to? So,
Sorry?
I'm going to suggest, well, I can't support all of these recommendations, and so on recommendation 4, the recommendation.
Other people there, Sandra.
But yeah, no, I'm just letting everybody know my concern in regard to this, because it's the same situation. So, John, we're on to the Whangatar Community Board minutes.
Thank you, Sandra.
And we're looking at page 7.
Yep.
And principle 4, item 4 of the recommendations for the Whangatar Community Board. And the concern here is that 101 Lindsay Road is a council property, and we can't approve in principle a preemptive decision that we need to make in regard to 101 Lindsay Road. Again, this is a situation where we're going to have to get our staff, refer the matter to staff for a recommendation to be brought back to the council.
Why do you need a staff recommendation? Why can't the council make a recommendation? Or why is that?
Staff recommendation to the council in regard to 101 Lindsay Road. We're making a decision around 101 Lindsay Road,
Yes, correct?
Okay, that's a council property, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
The district beyond property.
There are fiscal.
The district beyond property.
I understand that, Mark.
Yeah, that's why I understand it. That's why I can't.
That's for the council to discuss.
Yeah.
And there are fiscal implications, Terry, correct?
Yes, sir?
There are fiscal implications, correct?
In what way?
Well, property of council has a value attached to it, therefore there are fiscal implications for council, correct?
Properties have a value, that's right, but this is a piece of town's land that they want for a community.
This is a district property which has a significant value attached to it. Right,
But
on that basis, we cannot make a decision in regard to this property without a report back from staff, because under our decision-making responsibilities, we have to take into account a whole raft of criteria. Now, I'm sorry if you don't understand that, but that is the fact in terms of our legislative responsibilities.
So we've not had any papers for.
So this is another situation where we need to refer the matter back to staff for a report to be brought back to council.
Sure, but this is not a situation like the previous one. There is no opposition from community or anyone for what is proposed with the hub. So it's really just a matter of.
It's got nothing to do with the hub. The hub is a separate issue from a decision in regard to Lindsay Road. And so we can't support in principle the hub as a principle for this Lindsay Road.
Why can't we do that, Sandra?
Because it's preempting a decision without a report from staff in regard to 101 Lindsay Road as a district property, which has fiscal implications.
We have restored.
Tony.
So, you're aware of this, this has been discussed. There was a time, a number of years ago, where the council was looking at land it owned to be turned into cash to reduce exposures and commitments elsewhere. So the land, so we're a community, so we've had the discussion, we're a community, bought the land, in other words, it was paid for out of local rates, not district rates. The community then could decide what they're doing with that by and large. Where it was funded by the district, so the district owned the land, the district had the choice to say, go and do something on it, or turn it into cash to reduce something somewhere else. So that was the discussion that has been had many times.
No, it's
Not about the
it's not
use
the
of
body
it. So what
strategy.
we're getting is, the staff will have to come back and say that we all sit in this room and vote for that, knowing that we had the option to sell that land, I'm not suggesting that, for whatever it's worth.
No, I'm going to question here, through the chair.
No, I'm going to.
The property strategy in 2016 was to go to the community boards to select land that they've had no value to sell, whether it was council land or community.
This is a new council.
I'm telling Tony, he raised the issue.
We have 4 councillors here who have not been a party.
Doesn't matter.
to any of the previous reports. They need to be briefed on 101 Lindsay Road. We need a paper back from staff in regard to a district property that has fiscal implications for the district, and to inform our new councillors of all of the facts relating to this matter. And it's not...
The new councillors have been to the site and visited, so they're not uninformed at all.
They might have been to the site, and that's all very well, but we need an actual report back from council for our decisions to be robust as a council. We can't do, and particularly for the new members of council.
Guys that come over for nothing.
We're seriously vulnerable if we start going down this.
We are not vulnerable. This is a piece of land that sat there for 20 years and done nothing. We want to use it for the community center. We didn't want to sell it and go there. We want to use it. Give it to us. We've got a group here that want to use it. Let it happen. Don't shag it up.
And Terry, me sitting here as a district councillor may want to do that, absolutely support your community, and it has to make sense on paper for me to do that. And I have no new information from the last time to increase my confidence that this is the right thing to do. So I think the hub's a great idea, but I haven't got enough information sitting in front of me right now so that I can put my hand up and say aye. And I might want to do that more than you imagine.
Sally, when we came to the meeting, when they came to present last time, they sat up here and they presented the business case and everything.
That's right.
The chief executive, before it got to a vote, said that the OPEX budget was the thing that didn't stack up.
That's right.
Go away and do that.
I haven't
Well, it's
seen
been
a new one.
presented to council, back to council. The report's
So how many
been done.
new members of council do we have, Terry?
It hasn't been presented to this council.
How many new members of council do we have, Terry?
So,
You'd rather they continue to make a decision in ignorance?
no. They've been to see the site, the report's out there, it wasn't hidden. So what are you trying to do? You're just trying to hijack this once more, which is what we have to do with all the time.
No, I take exception to.
The community's here, Sandra, and we want to do it.
It's a district piece of land.
We know it is like, Murray,
It's your land,
land,
you can go and do it, but it's a district piece, I can't remember all the executive piece from way back. And I think as a district piece of land, we've got to look and say, yes, it can be done, or no, it can't be done.
Well, that's what why can't
But these are minutes, this is not, so that's why we want to paper, so we can discuss all the ins and outs.
It has to come back.
This is coming through minutes.
Should I try and explain one critical piece of information for councillors?
Here we go.
That requires the paper. It's far more complex than this, but the main critical piece of information is that it's a commercially zoned piece of land.
Yeah.
It's not a reserve.
Yeah.
So as a commercially zoned piece of land, it comes with some financial implications. One of those is revenue. Now, the Marai proposal has been put forward and it has some budgets. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of those budgets, but primarily it makes the project, to use the words in Alan Wilcox's report, is viable, marginally viable, I think are the words he uses in there. Now, that's fine. However, it's viable because there's the proposal of leasing for $350 a year a piece of commercially zoned land. That is a significant decision in terms of...
How much revenue has it taken off the last 20 years?
Again,
how much?
I haven't got the outset, Terry, because
Sat there doing nothing.
Terry, did you let Rob
we
finish,
need the
please?
staff to put that paper together so everybody around this table can see that information. It's not about causing delays to anybody. It's about trying to provide this council with the correct information. And I'm just saying that the financial side is just one element to it. But I'm just trying to direct you in terms of you can't just make ad hoc decisions without the full information.
It's not ad hoc. They've got a business
It's
plan.
ad hoc for this council, Terry.
It's not. And it goes back to that strategic property strategy where it was sell your property and they said the money, oh no, it won't go back in the community, the money will be gone. We're trying to capture a piece of land, the last piece of land in town, we can do this. And that's what we're here today.
To go round in circles, so I'm
I
going
just
to.
want to direct the council to the last resolution that was made at this council table with regard to this property, and that it received the trust request to lease the land, and it rejected the request and presented and resolved to research other options. So that is when the trust went to work with the school.
No, that was the brief that was given to the reporter who did that report.
Yeah, but the council previously rejected that request. So for a council to approve that request, I would surely expect it to have the courtesy of seeing a report with all of the information in it to know why it's reversing that request.
So why wasn't that report circulated? How long has that report been done for? About 9 months? Why wasn't it? Huh?
It's come out of community board minutes.
No, it didn't. No, this is a report the council paid for $5,000 to go and do.
But again,
wasn't it coming out of minutes?
This isn't an LTP project. This is not what staff are tasked to do. This was a community board project that it wanted to progress with, and I provided $5,000 worth of resource to allow this chap to write this report, which is fine. It's a report. It's good. But if the community board wishes for council to reverse or change a previous resolution, we need a report to be brought by staff to say why. And that is exactly what I'm just suggesting we need to do, is have a report to say why. And then it's up to councillors. It's got nothing to do with staff as to whether it's approved or declined, other than to provide you with the technical information.
Rob, at that meeting, it didn't get to a vote, if you remember rightly. It never got to a vote. Right. You stood up and said, this does not meet the office budget. We suggest you go away and we'll help you get it done.
I'm reading from the resolution. The council reject the request as presented and resolve to research other options in relation to both the marae and the property. That was moved by Simpson, seconded by Peters.
2018.
Rightio, so Terry and Gary, I'm going to put the resolution for items 1, 2 and 3, and we'll take item 4 separately. So all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carry. Item 4. So item 4 is where we're considering the community board recommendation in regard to 101 Lindsay Road. So my suggestion is again that we receive the information and refer the matter to staff for a report to be brought back to council. Do I have a seconder? Murray is seconding. Is there any further discussion?
When can that happen, Rob?
Well, again,
you've got the report, you've got the office budget.
I would hope that we can bring a report back to the first meeting of next year.
Can't go away, can it come next week?
Well, because staff are already tapped out. This year,
the report's done.
This is not a staff project. This is not in the LTP. This is not what we're resourced to do. However, I will ask staff to work as hard as they can to pull these strands together and produce a report.
There's 2 strands.
Okay, so is there any further discussion on this resolution? Martin?
I'd like to say the same thought as Sally, is that I can't in all conscience and be able to defend a decision to approve currently before without knowing more information. So.
Thank you, Martin. Appreciate it. So I'm going to put the resolution. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Terry? Carry. Right, moving right along there. Shoreline Management Plan Governance Committee minutes. I'll move. Do I have a seconder? Yep. Sally? Oh, is that Robin? Robin, sorry, Robin. Any discussion? All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thames-Coromandel District Council Minutes, do I have a mover?
Me.
Scully? Yep. Robin? Any discussion? There being none, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. So that protects all the others. Right, okay. Now, should we go to?
We've got the,
We go to the next item, which is the freedom camping bylaw, page 59. I'm still getting complaints, and in spite of the fact that freedom camping has sort of gone off a little bit. There's lots of motor banners, but the wicked type bans seem to have diminished substantially. Yeah. However, as someone said, beware of good days. So this might last for a year or two, but then if we don't have any changes to either legislation or bylaw, they'll be back. So, Martin.
I just have a question. So under this bylaw, what is the process that a community wanted council to have freedom camping spot?
You can add it if you think that there's no risk to the environment or people's health, well-being and safety.
So there's a process.
And on the flip side, for example, I would have expected Thames to take out to Peru or parts
Yeah, I
of
never
Peru.
knew there was a problem with Te Peru.
Yeah.
But isn't the issue, simply, you freedom camp everywhere, but for those areas where it's prohibited.
Yeah.
So if the Thames community want, they can go anywhere in Thames they like to go, unless you don't want them to go there and you can justify them not going there. So that's what this is about.
Is it that way round?
Yeah, no, you don't approve it. You can camp everywhere.
That was the problem with it.
That was the problem with it. It didn't say you can't go anywhere unless you're told you can. So it's the other way. You can park these things anywhere you like, unless you prohibit it. So if you take where I am, we agreed to put them in some areas, and some of those areas are now don't turn out as good as they are. So now in this process, we are going to go out in consultation to prohibit an area, so they can go everywhere else, but for this. So you can have your couple of tents and freedom campers if you want, unless if you don't want it there, you prohibit it, and then that's how you manage it.
And there are some places that absolutely like that, it's so over freedom camping, it's not even funny. So it does give community boards an opportunity to re-look at and look at the criteria for being able to close down certain freedom camping areas, so then you can reconsider Te Peru. Yeah, that's it.
And if we get submissions from Te Peru, we'll make sure that they know that this is out, so they can submit to us, and that may be helpful in us being aware of the challenges.
And just remind them to be aware of good days. So it might be, you can become complacent if you take for granted that the quiet times right now are no longer a problem. But that's only because of the circumstances of current COVID and border restrictions and things like that. So, but does anybody, do I have a mover for the recommendation?
I'll move it.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Tony, any comment, any further discussion around this? There's a good opportunity to really get into it with your communities and make sure that all the spots you do have are robust and are maintaining the health and well-being and environment of your communities and your local residents particularly.
I'm still a little confused. It says that the bylaw is intended to manage freedom camping canopy. Tony's just saying.
I'll tell you what.
We manage it so we prohibit.
Yeah, but if you can drive along here and park here at 5 o'clock and freedom park camp here in your van and no one can stop you.
You do it right now. Right. But why would charge if you hop out and try to use the front section or reserve of the neighbours for a toilet, as somebody did down in Nelson, I believe, and got photographed.
Yes.
Got YouTube. Okay, any further discussion? Hilary and Brian, do you want to make any suggestions here?
No, it's all looking good for consultation, so we'll just wait and see what comes in. Very excited.
Thank you. No, you've done well. Thank you very much for all your hard work on this one. Appreciate it. So, yeah, this is quite good in a way that it is quiet. We've got some time, and that means that where people are desperate to make some changes, that it'll be next Christmas. So, appreciate your input. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you. It's so difficult. Right, next one. So, we're on to
Non-financial.
I've got two books here. We're going to 2.2, page 153.
2.3.
2.93, sorry, 153. So, the only thing I wanted to raise was, do I have a mover for this?
I'll move.
Tony, seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sally. Any discussion? So this is, before I was going to just ask around, see we've got the Thames-Coromandel there. I'd just like to see us get together with Mountain Murray, put together an MOU around Thames-Port.
About the current one?
Yes.
Yes.
So that we can have an understanding. So I don't like to give any more work than necessary.
Yeah, that's what my sense was, that things were quietly moving around.
Yeah,
But I think
just need to
really
get an agreement down on paper.
Yeah.
Keep it tidy because it's obviously going to sit there maybe for a little while longer.
The key information.
Well, we won't expect on it.
No, okay.
Sandra, I just had one thing, and there's a level of service in this non-financial reporting about the percentage of council agendas publicly available 2 working days before.
Yeah.
And I know that that's probably quite, it's important that we've achieved that over and over again. And so thank you, Ari, and your staff, because I've heard from other elected members at councils who are not here that that is something that they don't achieve. So.
Right.
It's important to say thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have general questions around the infrastructure in terms of stormwater and wastewater. There's a sense that are we actually going to achieve, and what's our risk around some of that, abatement notices and not meeting targets?
No, wouldn't be the best person to answer that. Just walked in. The ones that we currently have, we're working to fix or meet.
Yes, and that was my question, is that how serious are they and what is our risk at this point in time? Both, I'm thinking about human health, environment, and then our credibility as an organisation, I suppose, when I lay a risk.
Yeah, so this is asking about the list of feedback that TCDC that we're working on. Sorry,
a lot of the ones related to discharge with the wastewater ponds, which we have dealt with through desludging. So a lot of it related to ammonia and nitrogen levels, so we've dealt with those. There's another tranche of non-compliances related to reporting, and it's related to our own systems.
Right.
Between us and Veolia. There is a product called Water Outlook, which has not been fully configured to do automated reporting. So once we get that fully working, the reports will go through in a normal fashion. But if the reports don't go through, it's also dealt with as a non-compliance. So in terms of public risk, it's pretty low.
Right. And environmental you're dealing with, and because I just was in my mind trying to layer the risk.
Yep.
Yeah.
So really, the risk for us, I think, is probably going to be that, I don't know if you're all aware, but we're going to have, that's an estimated and over 600,000 people in the district over the summer period. we're just going to have to do the best we can on all levels, water, wastewater, stormwater, policing, whole 9 yards. And I understand policing has been working with civil defence, work out the numbers over the summer period, and I'll be talking with the regional commander about how they're going to address it as well. So, so can I give you an example? At the Waikawao Dock Campground alone, they're expecting just shy of 3,000 people. Everything's booked out solid. So yeah, it's just giving you a little bit of a heads up. So it's going to be an interesting summer this one. And we're just hopeful that everything can get through with all the increased numbers, totally unexpected increased numbers, at just about double, I understand, from what we would normally have. So any further questions for Mo and Hilary? There being none, so we have a second,
Yep.
Yes. No further questions, I'll put the resolution. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. So we now have, thank you, Mo and Hilary, and we now have the deliberation and adoption of the gambling policy, page 206. So do I have a mover? John, seconder, Murray, and welcome, Rachel.
Hello.
Would you like to make any comment, or is it pretty straightforward?
I'm mostly just here to answer your questions. The only major change I've recommended as a result of the submissions is making it slightly less confusing for clubs to merge, so that they can merge and keep the same number of machines each club had individually. Although I've noted in the report the chances of that happening are really low.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Any questions of Rachel? There being none, so no further discussion. I'll put the resolution. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Well done. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, Rachel, on the next one, the review of the biodiversity and heritage strategy. My question to Rachel would be this: have we had any issues?
Well, climate change is affected by it, and that they're often linked together, and same with shoreline management plans, and we've always got groups asking us to do more in these areas. So the question is the individual actions we're doing enough, or do we need to combine them together in some sort of way?
So this resolution to me sort of covered that process of somebody having a gentle look at this, seeing who the main players are, talking to them, and then coming back to us when we know a bit more about the RMA reform and stuff, to see where all this fits. So this to me was committing staff to some work, but not a whole review when the whole national scene is so unclear. So that's what I was seeing, but there's still two really important aspects of this environment, I think.
They are important in a lot of legislation, as I've shown, but they aren't legislatively required. So that's what we have to balance up. And so this is suggested we go out to the community and go, how important is it to them, before I come back and make a recommendation for you to
Makes sense to me, Sandra. I'll move it.
I'll second it. I'll certainly the pre-look at it.
But that's all we're committing to. We're not committing to doing anything else than Rachel or somebody gathering more information to make come back to us and say.
No, I get that.
Sorry. Teaching very much.
Okay, do I have a mover?
Yeah, we have a mover and second.
Okay, that's fine. And is there any other discussion around this? The only thing I'm as always, I'm looking at potential dollars, and I'm understanding what's coming down the track, and I don't want to be spending a whole lot of money doing stuff that is going to be superseded by other things, but. Anyway.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't see an urgency in this, is there?
And there isn't an urgency in the resolution either, it's a process thing.
No, these documents are about 12 years out of date.
Yeah. And that could be something that. No, okay, so any further questions? No, there being none. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Significance and engagement policy 2.6, page 2.2. Thank you, Rachel. 2.2. So, do I have a reader? Leila Martin, seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tony.
First, maybe comment on this.
Yeah, go for it.
So I've looked at some of the pre-consultation comment. And whilst it's admirable that we do this, the problem is that the level of understanding of some of those that actually make a comment is limited. And it's just that if you've actually got nothing, $100 is quite a lot of money. But these things we're talking about, in the space we're in, $5 million is actually not a lot of money. So this comment, especially when we get the consultation process underway, people won't agree to it because they don't know. So I don't really, somehow the groups do better messaging to say, this is the space to move and you can't do anything with under $2 million. And so whilst $2 million might seem a whole lot to you at a district level, it isn't. Because, you know, I don't want to see 100 people turn up and think we shouldn't have 2 million. And then you hamstring everybody and nothing will ever happen because you'll be very having meetings and making exceptions. So I think the message, it's a comment really about the whole process, that our messaging is actually going to somehow be better.
So are you saying, can I ask you this question? So it's moved from 1 million to 5.
Two to 5.
2 to 5. But however, the council can determine anything less than 5 million as a matter of significance and.
Absolutely, and I think that's really important.
So that's where it may be that unless council determines otherwise, is a corollary to the 5 million. But from what I just heard Tony say, you don't want council having that discretion.
No, I do.
You do.
I do, so, because you can't, otherwise you're forever in meetings to try and prove things rather than say, what's what? Yeah.
Okay, so can the rider be unless council determines otherwise?
Yes, and it is in there, and we might decide to consult on something that costs $500,000 because of such acute public interest. So this is only the top figure. It's not. It's about us sitting around and discussing significance. So the money is.
You're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But we just need it to come through the narrative.
Yes, right. My point was about the messaging.
So,
through your worship, I just wanted to remind you that this policy is also about whether anything trigger an amendment to the LGP as well.
Yeah.
So that is also part of the reason why we have the significance engagement policy too. So.
Through the chair, my only other comment was that $5 million figure is just one of the criteria. There are a number of other criteria that would trigger us going out to the public to inform or consult with them about a decision.
But interestingly, when you read it, you only see the jump from 2 to 5, and you don't see the rest. You don't. The rest is all centre gel, and so what Tony and Sally, who read it, is saying is can somehow change the narrative or improve the narrative so that it reflects that that it's not the only criteria, that it is a decision of the council, and that could be anything. And the thing is, if it's not clear in the policy, then when people go back to try and read the significance and engagement policy, they don't necessarily pick it up. So they think that 5 million is a threshold, and then that all of their decisions or their actions are guided by that.
I think that the policy is quite clear. I think it's because it's the dollar figure that people have latched onto. And they have not. Yeah, so I don't know how much clearer we can make it. There are a series of bullet points about the legal requirements, the financial consequences, the number of people affected. It's all sitting there.
It sounds, you know, to me, I'm no cartoonist, but it's almost like a cartoon. Like these are all the different criterias. The money's one of them, and it makes a big cake kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's something about information.
It just is 1,000 words.
It's probably something that we could do on our website against the policy.
Not lots of words, but pictures.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, any further discussion? There being none, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Again, carried, well done, thank you so much, Houston. Stand up for that one. So we're on to 267, proposed district plan delegation. Mary Seaver's John. Well, Sally says 8 cents. One would be hopeful that it does, Bruce.
Done, Bruce.
Should the rest of us leave the room, Sally? Sally says.
Bruce and I go back a long way.
Okay, any discussion? There being none, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes, carried. Thank you, Bruce. Excellent work. It's not a word was spoken. Council's COVID-19 response. So, Amiana. That report is ready. Okay.
It's just a backstop report in case.
Do I have a lever?
Yeah. Because we're in legal people, like
Thank you, Mark. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes, carried. Would you like to break the morning tea now? Have you worked harder?
No.
Well done. Thank